Don't allow me to see it until the show starts. Okay, cool. This is going to be a literally every single step tutorial. Welcome. Hi, I'm Paint Josh. Nice to see you. It's been a fantastic weekend. I hope your weekend's been awesome as well. And we're going to paint a cool little Smoky Mountains tutorial today. It's going to be going to show you literally every single step from start to finish. So let's get started and not waste any time about it, right? We're going to take our Bob Ross liquid white. We're going to dunk it into just a little bit, right? Just a little. We're not even trying to cover the whole thing. We're not trying to allow it to ride up the sides of the brush or anything. And then we're going to put it out here in a big old X, having to push harder as we go to then deposit that paint the same way we do the liquid clear. Right now, the liquid clear is a little bit easier to see on that black canvas versus this liquid white, right? Main thing, you don't want to have too much, which is why we put it in a big old X like that. And then we'll start to blend it back and forth. And the more that we spread that paint out, the more it's going to become thinner and thinner and thinner. Got a little bit, of color saturation up here. Hang on. I just taught a virtual class, like literally finished an hour ago, and then got ready to do this painting tonight. So there's still a little bit of excess color on my easel that's going to want to try to sneak onto my canvas. Does that ever happen to you? And it's fine. We can literally, the more we push on it, the more it will blend away. We're going to get that color up into our sky. It doesn't really very much matter. But now, back to the blending, right? We're only trying to push with a lot of force. If you're at home, right, just as a little bit of backstory or behind the scenes action, my easel is literally screwed into the ceiling, so it cannot shake about, right? If you're at home, yours should be rocking back and forth because of how much pressure we have to push on all of these little bits to spread them out as thinly as we can, right? So if you're like, man, how come Josh's easel is so stable? It's because it's literally screwed to the ceiling, and therefore it can't move, right? Now, we're on a little bit bigger of a canvas today, so sometimes you need a little bit excess liquid white. You should, if you dip it in, you should just need one dip into your jar. You shouldn't have to go back and get too much more. If you do go back and get more out of the jar, just be sure that it's a little bit. Then we spread it as evenly as we possibly can. Going up and down, side to side. Sounds like a lot of fun. And we'll get it out here, just blend it, blend it, blend it, spread it out all over the canvas as much as you can, all right? I'm going to show you exactly how to test it when we get done to see if we do in fact have just the right amount or if we may in fact have too much or not enough, right? But all I'm doing is looking at my canvas kind of down the side this way, down the side that way. I can see I've got a little dry spot over here. We had a dry spot over there. And I'm not adding any excess paint. I'm just mushing around the stuff that's already there, okay? Now, let's go in and paint a really cool little sunset-y Smoky Mountain scene. And just in a few minutes, you can get that liquid clear or liquid white spread across your entire canvas. Okay, now we're going to check it. We're going to come up here. We're going to kind of test all over the canvas. And we should have about the same amount. You see that top corner up there was a little bit thin? There we go. Right? So we should have about that much on our camera, on our fingertips, where we can see all the little dimples in the canvas. It's not like a goop. There's not a droplet hanging off of our finger, right? Like that amount of paint, you wouldn't even mind wiping on your pants. Just wipe it off, because it's such a small amount. If you have too much and you go to wipe it on your jeans, you're gonna notice a big white spot down there, right? Okay, let's get in here and we'll do a cool little Smoky Mountains sunset, neat little thing. It's gonna be fantastic. I'm gonna go through the colors we're gonna use. Indian yellow, crimson, either the, Indian yellow, yellow ochre, and then either the madder carmine or the Bob Ross crimson. They both are the same color. We're gonna use our sap green over here in a large amount. We're gonna have our Van Dyke brown and our dark Sienna brown in a large amount of paint, and then Prussian blue, alizarin crimson, midnight black, titanium white, all from the Ross set. I mean, the white's from the Gamblin, but it doesn't matter. The white's from our Gamblin 1987. First thing we're gonna do is go into our Indian yellow, and we may use a little of our cadmium yellow too. It all depends on how you want your flowers at the beginning. A little bit of our Indian yellow, and then I'm gonna ask you guys out there to check in. Tell me where you're watching from, from around the world, okay? Once you grab our Indian yellow, we're gonna put it about halfway down on our canvas, maybe a little bit less, a little bit below halfway. What in the heck? Got some bit of something. that's going to try to cause me an issue. There's a bit of like blue or black or some green something down here, right? So you can see it. It's right there. I'm going to show you. We're going to blend it and blend it and blend it until the little thing disappears, right? It's gone. So even though there was a slight bit of greenish, blackish, grack, whatever the heck we call it, that was down here when I nicked it on my brush, unknowingly, and then put it back up onto the canvas. If you blend it enough with that liquid white, it will literally go away, right? Now, let's take a little touch of our yellow ochre, just a little bit, and pull it down here so we can make sure there's no other colors on there. Right? Pop that yellow ochre in there. It should be a darker, more duskier, kind of brownish yellow, and again, it doesn't need to go down too far. And then we'll take either your madder carmine or your Bob Ross crimson. I like the madder carmine because you don't need a whole lot for it to remain super vibrant, and then it'll spread a long way, right? The more that you have up there, and then the more you push on it, the more it's going to spread out. So pop a little bit of it up there, and then you can even take it like this and put like just a little thing. It doesn't even matter, seriously, because we're going to blend it away. It's not going to end up looking like that anymore, right? Now, right on top of the crimson, we're going to go into our Prussian blue, just again, the littlest bit. Kind of drag it out here. We don't need a whole lot, otherwise it's going to try to overtake our whole sky. A little bit of our Bob Ross black as well, right on the top. There's that kind of bluish, grayish color. Don't even let them touch, because we need some space in between them so they can grow together, okay? If you put on too much paint, it's going to grow too far down the canvas, right? We don't want that to happen. We want to allow it, give it some room so it can start at its starting point and then run the race, okay? Now we can't very well blend out our sky with all these different colors on our brush. We're just going to continue to drop things onto the canvas. So let's wash it off. And then remember, you guys can grab this one. If you go over to my site, it's right there. It's a nice big canvas, 20 by 24 inch stage 2 canvas, actually. So it's those ones that they pay a little bit more attention to than the stage 1s, but not as much attention as those big thick canvases, right? This is a little stage 2. It's not going to hang off the wall too far. It's going to be nice and fantastic and for you. But you got to be over there first to get it, right? You got to get the very first one over there. Grab this paint. Now, you got a clean, dry brush. I dabbed it off on a paper towel. I whacked it like that, like right onto the paper towel, which throws out a surprising amount of excess wetness onto your paper towel that you don't want back up onto your canvas. So we'll dry it off. We'll come back up in here and we'll start to get into that yellow area. You can even blend the yellow area down a little bit and let it get more and more and more faded, mixed in with that white. All we're trying to do is get a little of our liquid white on the canvas and a little of our Indian yellow into there. And so it's get very faded, and then we can come up into here, grab a little touch of our pink as we go, right? So we're dragging the pink down, dragging the yellow back up, pink down, yellow back up. And the more that we do it, right, the more those little streaks will disappear. The harder it will be to figure out where the yellow stops and where the crimson starts. And if you got a big old streak out there too that just won't go away, just leave it. We'll put a big cloud over it. It's no big deal, bro. Whatever we want to do out here, we can do. No one's out here telling us we can't, right? Seriously, but I like it, okay? So we've taken our yellow, we worked from the white area up into the yellow, then up into the crimson, and now that I've got all this crimson onto my brush, and there's no more yellow really showing on the brush, then I'm going to come up into the top corner. And we're going to start to work the blue down and down and down. The more pressure we push on it, the more bluish paint will slide into our pink paint, right? So you get to decide how bright you want it, how dark you want it to be, how much it's mixing, all up to you, right? Watch this little white area over here disappear, but also stay sort of brighter than the rest because there was nothing there to begin with, right? Might look like a very far away top of a wispy cloud or whatever you got to tell yourself when you're painting. Or am I the only one that talks to myself while I'm painting? Is that just me? Tell me you guys do that. You talk to yourself when you paint, right? Like, yeah, tell a little story. This little guy is going to float right down here and over there. Am I the only one that does that? For real? Seriously? Okay, now that we've got our sky all blended out, everybody check in just real quick. I'll come back here behind the camera and we'll see where everyone's watching from. Where are you watching from out there? Watching from Mississippi, Canada? Boom, ba-boom. You do it too? Okay, cool. At least it's just not just me. I like that. Harper, wait, thanks for being here. Watching from Canada, the UK, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Jamaica, Wisconsin, Mississippi, Vancouver Island, Vermont, Washington, the UK again, Wisconsin, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, upstate New York, Denmark, the toilet. That's funny. That's funny. Watching from the toilet. That's cool. Thank you for, now that's all I can think about. Appreciate that. Gross. Okay, let's get over here. And what we're going to do is we're going to use two different 1-inch brushes. Doesn't matter what they are. One is my Paint with Josh brush. One is the Bob Ross brush. Doesn't matter which one we use. I'm going to grab a little bit of, sorry, I'm going to get my palette tool first. And then we're going to grab a little touch of our black and our crimson. You want about 5 times the amount of crimson, 1 part black, right? So it stays this very crimsonish, purpley color. And then we're going to throw like the smallest little bit, right? Barely any of that blue into there as well. Just so we get this very dark purpley mix that we're going to use for some of our shadows on our clouds. We don't need a lot of paint, so don't mix up too much. Okay, and then we're going to wipe that off. We're going to go back and grab 1 part black, 3 parts blue, mix that guy up over here. Very dark blue. You can even see it on the edge of the blade. Very dark bluish. Yes, right there. That's what we want. Very dark blue. It's Prussian blue and the midnight black. Just a little bit. 1 part to 3 parts, and then you got 5 parts to 1 part to a half a part over here, okay? That's what we're gonna need. Now, let's get out here first and get down into our sky, because in this painting, it's a lot of big sky and not a lot of mid-ground before you get to your foreground, right? So, what we're gonna do first is go into our yellow ochre, a little bit of yellow ochre color, and kind of tap it in like we're gonna make some grass on our, up into our sky. Right, way the heck out here, let's just throw in this little thing. It should be darker than your bright yellow portion of your sky. And we'll just have this little chunk of whatever out there, right? Looks like a little faraway bit of like grassy hill. Until we take our 1-inch brush that's dry, and we come up here and we start to mix it, right? Obviously we're not trying to mix it all away. We don't want to push on it with such force that we take away anything back there. And also, get back in here and add some more. Yeah, right? Mix it out very softly, softly, softly. It's basically practice for what we're gonna do next, right? We just need some little puff out there. Literally it. Doesn't have to be anything. You can blend it away if you wanted to. It doesn't have to do anything. It's just fun out there, guys. Now we're gonna go into that crimson, 5 parts crimson, 1 part black mix, 1/2 a part blue, right? With that little bit, and it should be, yes, a very dark, like purplish color. Now we're going to come up here and let's decide. You can even throw something in like this, just like that, right down in front. Maybe it comes down in front of our farther away cloud and just let it mix back. Again, it's a big bit of craziness that's right up here in the foreground. We want it to mix and get darker and darker as it goes over there. The reason you're using that crimson and black with a very little amount of blue is because we're going across this yellow area. And we don't want the yellow area to turn green with any little bit of difference, right? Now, if we're imagining our sun is back there somewhere, or maybe it's back down beyond our horizon, we can't really see it anymore. So let's mix out a bit more. Yeah, just a little touch more. Then we might have a little touch of white on top of that guy. But more importantly, okay, I'm going to take a little bit of this dark purplish, blackish mix, our crimson, black, blue. I'm going to mix it with a little bit of that, just that blue and black. Don't want to have it too crazy. But let's come out here and launch in like this weird little, there it is. Just kind of flying off, a little bit of darkness back in behind it, right? Weird little thing. Come out, mix that guy down just a little, working it backwards away from the bottom edge. Right? The bottom side is where we're going to have all of our brightness and color and white, bit of our clouds back there. And then we're going to have that depth, because we got this real far away one. This one's a little closer, that one's a little further, but it's in between the two, a little higher up. Right? Then we can literally do whatever we want. Literally doesn't even matter. Let's come out here, we'll grab a little bit of our titanium white, just a touch onto our fan brush. Let's go over this area just a little bit. Right? Try to save a few little bits that aren't so bright. Maybe it's bright up there, and then we drop in one little section back in here so we can mix it down together. And it's not gonna overtake everything, right? Clean, dry brush. Mix that white down over those shadows very, very, very lightly. And this one being more pressure on the bottom, by the way. This one being a little brighter, right? It's gonna look like it's a little closer than that further away one back there. And then again, how do you want it to look? Maybe you want there to be more brightness, or have a little puff of stuff wherever you think, right? That's the whole best part about it. We mix it down very lightly over that little shadowy area. And remember, everything back here is going to be covered by an enormous tree. So we're only really focusing in the center area when we're doing anything, okay? Come back over here, grab this guy. A little bit of white onto the brush, fair amount, enough to stay bright. And come underneath it first, underneath. We're not actually on top of the blue, we're underneath that guy. We can drag off a couple of flat little things or whatever it looks like. We can always go back and change it. We're going to mix it backwards and backwards and backwards and backwards. And this little thing, the brighter it is out there, the more sunlight it's going to be catching, right? We can do all sorts of crazy stuff, guys. Seriously, how do you want it to look? All right, want to see another little bit of bright up here? It can be. You can mix it however you want. You can put them wherever you want. It's up to you guys, right? Seriously, it's all up to you. All right, now what if our bright is getting too close to each other? So we take onto our fan brush, a little bit of this darkness, let's cut in front of it. Bang. Now we got a little different thing that's in front of both of these little guys. Pop it out there. Remember, our whole sky on this side does not have to be bright with clouds. It's all going to be covered, the majority of it anyway, with our bit of our tree in the foreground, right? All we're looking for are some cool little color changes out there when we're making when we're looking at it as our sky, right? So the person that's going to be looking at your painting, I just want to see what it looks like. Oh, yes. The person that's going to be looking at your painting, whether they're going to be purchasing it or just looking at it to get it, right? Or looking at it as a photo, they're not going to spend as much time as you or I would spend looking at our own clouds, right? They're going to look at the clouds for about 3.5 seconds. So literally, make a mess up there. Have it be vibrant, bright, dark, here, there. Maybe I don't want that guy so bright anymore, so we push him down. Maybe we take that cloud underneath the other cloud, push it into the distance, right? Little things, just remember, everything up here is going to have a big old tree branch over it, so it doesn't really matter. Don't let it stress you out, right? That's the main key. Don't let it stress us out. We have a bit of white come up through this. There. Right? How do you want them to look? It's all up to you. Seriously. You're in control. Now, let's get the heck out of our sky and move on, right? A little bit of craziness. You know what? One more little thing. Just because this pink line and that blue line just are not agreeing with my eye, let's just pop our little white over there. Just have it be weird, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be imperfect. That's what's going to make the perfect cloud. Or its imperfections. Remember, don't put on too much paint up into your sky, or it's going to be more difficult to do what we plan on doing next, right? Now, down in here, I'm going to mix up all that dark color that we had, our little streaks and stuff like that. Allowing it to mix in, becoming lighter and lighter and lighter, so there's no texture, there's no anything there. And then we can come in and put our little Smoky mountains back in there, right? So we'll have our purple, is that crimson-y black mix. And then let's decide what we want it to look like. They got to be sort of straight along the top. It's not just going to be one straight thing. So let's just say it came down here. We started tapping in. Tap in, it came up a little bit. It came down. It was up over here. And then it started to go down off to the side. Okay? Little things. We're just going to tap underneath it like we're making grass. Okay? So if I want it to look like it's flowing down a certain way, I'm going to tap on it that way, just like we were making grass. And then we're going to go slide it out and not worry about it, okay? So all we're really worried about is the top being darker than the bottom. And as the bottom gets mixed out, it will become brighter and brighter and brighter because we're on top of all that liquid white, okay? So now let's take our clean, dry brush, or the same brush you were using to make your clouds and stuff. It's not going to be too much different. Come back in here, and let's slide this guy down, okay? Leaving a little darkness at the top, pushing harder or mixing more as you get down to the bottom. So you have this soft little flowing thing. You can take a bit of dark paint, you can add little bits, you can pull it this way, you can slide it down that way. Leaving little different areas and different things. You can make it look however you want it to look. Pull it over that side, slide it up this way. Just leaving that little darker area along the top is all we need. Right? And then it's going to fade out as it gets down to the bottom. So the more that you mix it down here, right, the more it's going to intermix in with the liquid white, and it's going to get brighter and brighter and brighter, and have that little area of mistiness in between. Okay? Now, if you need it darker along the top, or you want to add some more details or whatever, have it be darker. You're in control of what it looks like. Not me, not your wife, not your husband, not anybody else. It's all up to you what it's going to look like out there. Okay, so you get to decide and tell us how it's going to be, how it's supposed to look, if it's going to be really dark or really striking along the top. If it's not, right, it's up to you guys. Seriously. Come back in, blend it out where you want it, leave some of that darkness too. Not pushing too hard. There. Very cool. Now, let's change color. We need to get darker as we come forward. So we can't keep using this same color, that purplish, crimsonish black color that we made. We're going to go into our blue color right on top, mix them into the same pot. Our blue and black, okay? Then we're going to come in from a different angle and we're going to tap down. Tap down. Right? How do you want it to be? You want to save that little bit of mist right over the top, or do you want them to get taller? What do you feel like, right? Because it's up to you. Remember, all these guys have to slope down as well, so at least leave a little bit of paint down there underneath, kind of tapping it, right? Basically starting and then getting a little lower. Starting at the same point, getting a little lower, backing up, getting a little lower, backing up, getting a little lower, just tapping it in, tapping it in. You can get up above your horizon now too, which makes this one look like it's in front of that one. All these things, don't worry, we're not going to go all the way to the edge. We don't need to. Take this guy, slide it almost horizontally, right? It's not as down, it's kind of sliding out to the side. We're pushing on it, we're leaving the top untouched. We're allowing it to fade out, get a little smaller, a little smaller, a little smaller. Yes, SCH, smaller. Smaller and smaller and smaller. Look at that. Oh, it's fabulous. Guys, I'm already digging it. On this one, right, if you're close enough, you might see a couple little faraway trees on the back of this guy. So we're just basically flicking up very lightly any amount of paint that's on the top. And you might get just a few little details in the background back there. Now, let's get rid of both these piles of paint. And in just about 23 minutes, we've already done 60% of our whole painting, right? Very much all foreground from here on out. We're gonna mix a little bit of our black, double the crimson. That's way too much blue. There we go. A little bit of blue. This is gonna be a very bluey mix. And then we're gonna mix our green into it as well, you guys. Okay, so whatever size of your pile, and that's a big pile, but we're gonna use a lot of paint. So I just normally like to make multiple little piles, okay? So whatever size of our pile, let's get about that much sap green as well. It's about 60-40, so it's almost half and half. And then I'm gonna mix this guy in with all of that dark paint. Let's flatten it out, scoop it up, pull it over here, slide it over there, push it down over yonder, mush it until it's all the same really, really, really dark green in color. Right? God, that's a big old pile of paint for this little paint with Josh knife. Look at this little palette tool, man. It's struggling. Okay, let's get over here. And now we can decide, do we want to have a bit of forest crisscross in between these things? Should it come down this way? Do you want to have anything back there? Or do you want to put in another little row of, you know what I mean? It's all up to us. But very first thing I'm going to do is, instead of using that bit, we're going to make up one more little bit of Paint with Josh plaque, just the original plaque mix, the blue, crimson, black, right? So our little background color, shadow, whatever. Paint with Josh plaque. Foul. Whoop. Throw my blade. It definitely hit my clothes somewhere. I have to change my shirt now. Okay. Now, we've got our Paint with Josh plaque mix. And then we have our Paint with Josh Grack mix, right? The Grack mix is the green one. Obviously green, black, Grack. No. Plaque mix is this other one that's just our original purplish blackish color that we use all the time. Wiggle it down, sharpen it up, and then we don't need to come up too high, but we do need to kind of start right in here. Tap down a little thing next to him, tap a little thing, maybe pop up a little bit, tap a little thing in between, fill it at a different angle, okay? The more that you fill these guys in, the more it's going to look like a whole big bunch of background trees in the night, right? You want to have a sharp brush, or at least a sharp tip top on some of your trees. And every time that you hit the canvas, it's going to, see how we're dipping down, we're going to try to get down underneath that second bit of our Smokies back there, right? So we're tapping it, just focus on this guy. He's just a little triangle, right? Sharp at the top, comes down. Sharp at the top, comes down. Sharp at the top, comes down. That's all we're really doing, right? Little things, and we're trying to make them not all look exactly the same, right? Say this guy, we don't want to have too much paint down here, but we do need to get into that misty area in between the two. It's going to help push these guys even further away. Up here, a little bit higher. Trying to save a little bit of that other color, that lighter color that's at the base back there. And we'll come over here. We don't need to go too much more, but we might go there, right? Bang, fill it in, smush them down, come and shake eyes right there. Fill it all in. Now, do you think that looks like a bit of background forest? Do you? Bang, just like that, right? Excellent. Helps push us back. We still got tons of room down here. Even an inch is a lot of room, let me tell you, okay? Take our 2-inch brush. We'll come very lightly back through here, just kind of pulling away as we get to the top. Each time that we push in down here, it's going to fill it a little bit more, filling up all of our little gaps and our empty spaces. And then we're going to make mist out of the bottom, right? So the higher you drag up, the more potential that you're going to drag up some crazy sharp thing. Okay, we're going to come over here, we're going to tap at it, bring it down. Each time that we do that, it's picking up liquid white, which is going to make the next spot brighter than it was before. And we tap it down, straight down a couple times, right? Following along this, we don't want it to be just a straight off thing or whatever, right? We need it to have some differences, so maybe come up a little bit higher. Down, up, over here. It's wherever the little misty area wants to be. And you can hear we're hitting it at a specific angle. That's why it makes that noise. If I hit it straight on, different noise, right? You gotta hit it at that angle where we're bending down the bristles, tapping in the stuff, and making this paint, even though it was very textured, we laid it on there very heavy, now we're taking it and making it thin, like this paint down in the bottom that's untouched. All we have to do, every time we do a layer, right? We did the layer, then we thinned it out by brushing it. Then we did another layer, then we thinned it out by brushing it. Now we're doing this layer, and we're thinning out the bottom so we can then add another layer. Big old massive canvas. Remember, I have this canvas available on my site, and then I also have a smaller version on a 16 by 20 for much less than what this one was, right? So if you're looking at it going, man, I wish I could get that one, but it's just a little much. I feel ya, and I've got a smaller one available on my site over there. You just got to be the very first person to go find it and check it out. I'm going to take this darkness. There. Cover over the side here, cover over the side here, filling in, and that way at least my canvas has some paint on the edge. It's got some color, and that way it doesn't look like I accidentally whack it and there's a little bit of a imperfection, right? At least if you finish around the color around the bottom, or around the sides and the top, right? You don't really have to do the bottom. Around the sides and the top, it's gonna look a lot more finished, to me anyway. That's how I do mine. So we're mixing it up, pushing it. Now we've got all this very thin paint down here that we could then do something else with. What do you feel like doing up there is all up to you guys. So the mods will tell you how to find the painting in the store. It's the very first thing you get to. All you gotta do is go to paintwithjosh.com. That's it. All right, now we've got these guys back here. These guys, there's a couple little imperfections above my mountains, and now I'm turning them into very far away little trees by dragging up on the top. It's basically these, but 100 miles away, so you can't really see every one, right? Now we're down into our little foreground mix, and we're going to want to again change color back to that grack, the green color, the green-black color. We're going to load up our brush right on the top of the same thing. Doesn't matter. We've already got darkness in there. We're just going to have it be a little bit less dark, a little bit more green with this color. Pop up into your above these trees, guys. We did these trees above those for a reason, right? Now our next trees have to go above these because they're getting closer to us, okay? So let's start up here. Let's just say right there. Hop down. A little bit stick coming down here, wherever you want it to live. Doesn't really matter, okay? Let's work on not overfilling up these trees. We're going to touch it with just the corner of the brush. And then as we go down, let's skip a spot. And then let's skip a spot. And then let's skip a spot. And push it up against the tree like that, okay? Not every tree has to be so overly filled. Now that looks a little funky, I agree. So why don't we just fill in the center area a little bit, not allowing it to extend out as far as some of these other branches. So by doing that, we're turning the brush on the side, Maybe it's got a little bit right there. Everything does not have to be perfect. It doesn't all have to just fan out from top to bottom like a Christmas tree. Right? You can get these little extensions come out, and then you can have a little bit where the trunk is kind of filled in different spots. And then leave it, guys. It looks awesome. That is a tree and a half right there, okay? All these little imperfection, little bits that are popping up, those are what are the realistic parts of your painting. Right? We don't need them to get too enormously big, but you do have to have them in there. Now, let's go back and do the same thing, okay? All the paint is off of the brush. So we'll come back in here, we'll wiggle it back down, only allowing the paint to climb up about half of the bristles. All right, and then as we smush it on there, it gets a little bit bigger. Let's make another little guy, maybe about right, oof, I love this tree right here, but we gotta get rid of it. Push it into the background, maybe we'll make a couple over here that we can actually see. And it'll look nice. There, I like it. Now I don't feel so bad about covering this little guy, because he's perfect. That is a perfect bit of tree right there. If you ever wanted to see a perfect piece of a painting, that's it right there, okay? Now, again, we're gonna come back over here. It doesn't have to be as tall, and I want his trunk just about the same width away from our dude. Maybe this guy sits on a little angle. Push him down like that, okay? By the time that we come out here, even with one brush, our bristles and our branches are going to be overlapping and connecting. We've got a couple more little guys now. Little thing, whatever. All we need them to do is overlap and connect. So again, let's start very lightly, and then let's skip a space. Right? You don't need every bit to all be just as filled. You can have some where your trunk kind of shows through, which means your trunk needs to be dark enough. Okay? Come down here again, try to stay out of your guys' way to do it. Just trying to make a little smiley face, a couple little taps. A little smiley face, a couple little taps. By the time we get down here, our smiley faces have gotten bigger, but that doesn't necessarily mean that all the centerpiece has to get bigger as well, right? Nothing out there has to just flow along like you think. You can have a really long branch at the top. You can have them all filled in. It could extend out over here. It could pop out a weird little branch over there, right? Like all these things happen out there, guys. And it's up to us to show what we want to show, and up to the viewer to see what we're allowing them to see. Very cool. Let's move over a little bit. We got a little bit more paint. We can do another one. Practice, practice, practice makes better, right? Doesn't make perfect, it makes better. Let's come over here. Let's push this guy a little bit further away. I want him a little smaller right there. Bink. Back there, hanging out on his own. He just lives out there in the forest. Gets this nice open view of the sunrise or sunset every day. And because he's smaller, I now want to do less and touch it less. Try to come off this side. There we go. Steady your guys' way like that. Right? The more I go down, the more I'm going to fill up my little tree friend. Like I said, don't need them all to be filled. So why don't we leave a little gap on that guy right there? Seriously, don't need much more than that, guys. Now, here comes your bravery test, okay? This is when it's about to get wild, okay? We're gonna get insanely, humongously huge and drop down this enormous thing. By the way, when's the last time you looked at the clouds? You haven't been, right? You've been focusing on painting and doing your other stuff. So, point proven, don't overdo the clouds. Don't stare at them for too long, okay? There, one little, right, now, here we go. We've got all this dark paint, but I don't want to use the dark green or the grack, right? The greenish black paint. I don't want to use that for my trunk. I want my trunk to be original Paint with Josh black mix. Right, so we come over, we mix the black and crimson and blue down into a deep dark color. And then when I put it on the canvas, depending on the lighting, it may look very bright, but in fact, it is this dark. It is black, just a very purplish, blackish mix onto our canvas, okay? So we're gonna run down that grack brush through the plaque, getting all that color to change, get darker and darker and darker. And then we gotta do one thing at least right here, full, turn the brush vertical, right? Push on it, and then come down. All the way down, bang, just like that. Back in, fill in, a little bit thicker as you go, and that's just one brush pushed against the canvas vertically. Not like this, where it's going to be flat and wider. We're turning it like this, so it's straight on, and we're pushing in full bore and dropping on all this darkness. Now, like I said, if it looks bright to you, that's because of my lighting, right? So you don't have to do this next part that I do, just if I just slide this thing over a little bit and change the directional grabs of those strokes, right? Now you can see it's a lot darker in its color, like it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be dark and stand out and get away from us and all that background stuff, okay? Now, we're going to want to load the brush up again and really launch down as much as we're probably going to have to do it 3-4 times. Get right next to this guy, full brush. You can see how much bigger it is, how much more crazy and close this guy's going to be, right? The bigger and wider that it is, the closer, the more it's going to push back our background. So you can literally toss it up there like that. Let it get bigger as it gets down here. It's just kind of widening out as it gets down around the bottom. And it doesn't have to be this perfect thing. You can have a couple little bumps and humps in different areas in the tree. Right? It happens. Just don't make them on the same spot. Otherwise, it's going to look like it has a spare tire. It's going to look like it's got a little beer belly over there. There. Different humps, different bumps. Maybe we come off this side. There. Just a little bit. It's got like a little notch in the wood. Now remember, it may look very bright, but it's supposed to be very dark. You don't have to do this. This is only because the lighting in here makes it look very bright, when in fact, we need it to be quite dark, just like that, right? Man! Same thing here, I just didn't grab it all the way across. If we come out to the edge and we grip this guy and pull it back that way, it will look very, very, very dark and stand out away from our bright sky, our darker forest back there, all these things, right? Now, we're going to do a little bit, since we've got this stuff on the brush. Let's get our liner brush first. We're going to grab a little bit of our liner brush and some odorless mineral spirits. All right, we got to have the OMS, the odorless mineral spirits, which is our brush cleaner. Right? You can use paint thinner or whatever, but it's just really going to be stinky. Let's come out here. Let's launch in. Bang, just a big old monster of a branch out into your sky, out into your clouds. Bring another guy off of this part of our tree. You can add a couple little bits, little hand-me-downs or whatever, right? But the majority of the branch is going to be covered with stuff. So if you put too many little details out there, they're going to end up being covered. Or we can wait until we're done covering it with foliage and then put the details out there, right? Always want to have it fill in that little triangle space right there, just to help it have a bigger, fatter bit of branchy trunk to hold all that weight of this huge amount of bush that we're going to put on top. Okay? Same thing over here. Don't come off the same spot. Pop out over there, up here, wherever. Maybe we got a couple off of our little tree in the background. And the only reason they're getting harder to see is because my brush is getting drier and it's not as wet. You need that odorless mineral spirits, right, to be able to cut through all this thicker paint that's out there already. Right? If we can cut through that guy, maybe we'll launch out a little stick from the center of our tree over here. Pop out a little branch that never got to grow. All right, these guys never got to grow very far, and it is busted off. All these things cannot support all the weight of all the branches that we're about to put on them. So you have to have little busted pieces, okay? Now, since we popped that guy out, and now we're gonna go back to our grack pile, right? The green and plaque mixed together. So we mixed up a whole pile of plaque, took about 40% green, or sap green, and put it into that plaque mix and mixed it up. Now what I'm gonna do is just load sort of the side of my brush this way. And so I'm not getting the entire brush filled, it's kind of making it flat along the bottom. And then I can come and turn that flat edge and make little branches and such, right? And just promise me right now, everybody that's watching, that you won't leave as soon as I do this, because it looks a little dark and crazy when we first do it, right? So just promise me now that you'll hang out for at least until I can highlight a couple things on there, okay? Man, what a sky. It's a shame we're gonna cover a lot of those clouds up. What a sky. Thanks, Kinky Ink Nails, I like it. Boom, boom, we're here for the ride. I like that. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna take this darkness, right? Trust the process. It's this same color, which you can see is kind of green, right? It's a little greenish, a little dark, and that's gonna help our green highlights stay a little bit greener as we go. Okay, here we go. We're gonna come out here, turn it. We don't have to go all the way, right? We don't want it to look like splotches, so mix them all together. Tap them enough times, right? Come across this guy, a little bit of bush, a little bit of greenery, a little bit of something. Off of this guy, we're gonna come out here, and we're gonna overhang a couple little bits, filling in but leaving spaces in between. If we go cover everything, see how we're not even down onto our little guy? There, leave that little space. You can see your branch going out. You can catch all of this stuff. You can have all these little hang-me-down little thingies that are hanging out there and doing different bits. Right, we're gonna come across the top. Again, just let them hang down, just like that. Cool little bits. And then since we've got just a bit more, why don't we come across this way? Yeah. Bink. Right there. Gorgeous. Right? Little things in the night. Man, that's fantastic. Now, how are we gonna highlight these little guys? That's my question, right? Gotta have it nice and dark along the top, and then we'll go back and we'll highlight our little friends out there, and it's gonna be awesome. I can even extend this guy out. Bink. Just like that. Oh, big old branchery, and then we'll go put our shadows over the, or excuse me, our highlights over the top, right? These things that are disconnected, they're so cool. Makes it look like a Van Gogh or a Rembrandt. Very, very, very neat. Now, in order to do the bottom section and fill up the bottom section, we need to just mix up a bit more of our plaque mix, which is our black, double the crimson, double the blue, whatever size this pile is. We want to add about 40% of our green. So let's check the size of the pile. Let's come over here. Let's grab about 40% green, and we'll chuck it in here. We're going to use this for the whole rest of the bottom of the painting. All we do is ever mush it down, flatten it so those colors mush together and mix, and you'll get this really, really, really dark green, kind of army green color. Right? The darkest of the dark green crayons is what we're trying to go for over here. You think it's almost a black crayon, and then you go to put it on the thing, and it's green, right? All right, now, let's take that big old bushy brush again, and we're going to start to hide everything, push it off into the distance, save some of that mist, right? We can't come so high up that this dark color touches that dark color. We have to project. See that little bit of mist? Those little bit of things out there? And we're covering it, and this big old tree lives down at the bottom of this big old bush, and we're just filling in everything around the bottom. Now, depending on how much paint you have, depends on how dark it is, right? Same thing over on our other guy, getting all that goopy junk coming up in there, project down, go up, down, have all these little things with that mistiness behind them projects distance, guys. Look at it. And you want it to be as thick as possible, right? The most amount of paint. So the more that you go over it, the more you're gonna dab down and smush all those little texturous pieces. Get along the bottom to these stage 2 canvases, they get round along the bottom. You really got to make sure you get it up underneath there. There we go. Right? Gorgeous. All that texture, the mist, the darkness, the next mist layer, the sky, the clouds, everything back in the night. Man, that's cool. Okay, let me wash off a couple brushes. While I'm washing these guys off, remember we're going to come back and throw some highlights on top of all this dark color and really make it pop. This trunk is going to be amazing. So let's wash some of these off, and while I'm doing that, you check in. Tell me where you're watching from. What's your favorite sandwich? Let me know in the comments below. Type it out there, man. Oh, seriously, where are you guys from? Where are you watching from? Where are you from now? Just clean this off. Let's check real quick. Where are you guys from? Nova Scotia, Ohio. We got Italian sub from Georgia. Boom, ba boom, ba boom. Look at that, dude. Push back all of that excess, leaving some of our branches exposed, right? Because not every branch is going to hold all that kind of stuff. Man, it's looking fantastic. Tennessee, Michigan. You guys are from all over the place, man. Can you guys all come to my studio in Oregon? That would be fantastic. Just if everybody watching right now just showed up at my studio at the same day, at the same time, like, there would be so many people here, you guys. It's insane. Okay, so we're gonna dab off, clean off some of these brushes. We're not gonna use our bushy brush anymore, so we can get rid of that guy. Man, there's a lot of paint in there. Heavens. I have to clean this guy out again. There we go. Okay. Got these guys. Woo! Okay. Let's get our highlight brush out. Got California, West Virginia. You guys are from everywhere. Boom, boom. Can I see your cleaning bucket? Easier said than done, madam. This one is so full, right? I've got a 5-gallon bucket with a golf ball basket down in the bottom. and about a gallon or two of that thinner, and all it is the residual that comes off of my brush after I already dip it, I spin it, I shake it into a can, and then that's just the residual of what comes off of the brush. So, but yes, you can also, let me show you just real quickly before we get too distracted. This is one that one of my students named Brenda made, right? You can see it's got a chunk of wood on each side, and screwed into that chunk of wood, on the inside anyway, is a wooden doweling. See that wood dowel in there? Initially, we didn't have the chunks on the side, but I use it, and I'm so vigorous with it, it broke the wood doweling in the thing, and then we had to upgrade it. Now she has a towel wrapped around the top with zip ties, big zip ties, and then it's got a lid, so you can reach inside, beat the devil out of the brush in there, contain it all in there, and then put the lid on so the stuff doesn't waft up towards your nostrils. Your nostrils over there, right? Okay, I got 2 or 3 more brushes to clean off, guys, and then we're gonna throw down on all of our highlights. So, if you've been waiting to see what the trees and bushes and all that stuff are gonna look like, you're in luck. It's about to come to life. The very first thing we need to do is get some of these brushes clean, and that way I don't have a whole mountain of them to clean up at the end when you guys are gone and I'm just here alone. There we go. Not like you guys can help me clean the brushes anyway, so just sit there and relax. Get ready to go here quite soon. Okay. Now we have our Bob Ross oval brush, right? The Bob Ross oval brush I love because you can use it flat, you can turn it vertically, you could use it upside down, you could put it this way and smack it against the can. You can do all sorts of stuff with this brush. We need enough liquid white in the bristles, and then enough mixture of that. See how the paint comes off like that, and then it gets stuck, and it leaves those little fingers right there? Those guys are what's going to stick on to our canvas. Now remember, not everything down here is green, right? We're just putting a little bit of green at the base. We're gonna start on this side, we'll work over here. We're gonna tap on, very light touch, because the green, if you push too hard, right, and get it too much mixed in, it's gonna make mud. It's not gonna deposit off of our brush and look very good. And if we push too hard and squish all the texture that's there, remember I told you to leave a lot of texture there for a reason, so we could just very lightly touch this guy, right? And we just come in here and just tap on it so lightly, right? You can see most of my color is already dropped off. Now, even though it looks green, if I push harder to drop that green off, it's just gonna squish it, right? So wipe the brush off or clean it off, go back in and get your right amount of mix again. So you get your liquid white into the green. We're gonna need more green even. I put out the most immense pile of green I've ever used, and we still need more. Very light taps. Little things, just at the bottom. We're gonna highlight the tops of these bushes with different colors and stuff. So if you're leaving gaps in between, that's where our little colors are gonna come in. Even if you did them all green, leave a little gap in between there. It just helps make it look like it's in a whole other different bush, right? Very cool. Now let's go wash this green out. Load it back up with liquid white again. And then we'll go to our brighter colors. Now you only ever need to wash this out if it gets overly filled up and gunked with your liquid white, which it will if you're using enough liquid white, right? Look at that. That's a lot of liquid white in there. So let's come over here, put it in front of our yellow piles. Maybe I'll dab into the Indian yellow a little bit, but mostly into my yellow ochre, taking that liquid white and making it so wet that it gets those little suction little fingers when you put it in there and you pull it away and you have that. That's exactly what we want up in here, so we can tap on again very lightly, small little bits, come down in here. Where do you want to have a bit of brightness touching or catching, or another little flower or whatever, right? Just wherever. Don't do too much though. If you do too much, it's not me that's not gonna like it. You're gonna show it to your significant other and they're gonna be like, oh my God, that's amazing, right? But in your head, you're the one that's not gonna like how it looks because you've covered up too many things. Popping a little bit of red or crimson-y, pinky little flowery bits. Down here, maybe one of those guys. Again, very lightly touching it, not trying to put on too much paint, not trying to put on too much pressure. Right? If you have to push too hard, your mix is off. You do not have the proper mix. This is our cad yellow and the yellow ochre. You don't have the proper mix if you're trying to push and nothing's happening, right? Your mixture's off. Go back and change it. Get something else. Do something different, right? Don't just keep expecting different results if you're using the same thing or if your mix is not the same. Go get more. Bob always told us the most important thing was that a thin paint sticks to a thick paint, right? So, if you have a thick paint in here, you're gonna have to thin it down so it will stick, right? Now, you need the right amount of liquid white, the right amount of your base paint too. So, it's all practice. That's the last P of Paint with Josh. We have to practice. You cannot just expect it to be perfect on your first go. You know what I mean? Like the first time you sang in the shower, was it perfect? Okay, well maybe it was. It wasn't for me. So I had to practice at it, right? The more I practice at anything, the first time you roller skate, you probably fell down. And after you practiced a couple times, you could stay up. Maybe you could do a couple little tricks and stuff because you practice and practice and practice. Same thing riding a bike, right? Everything. Literally everything. Now, we've got more of our liquid white out. And I need to get a little bit more of my sap green out. This sap green was given to me by Julie. Thank you, Julie, for giving me this. I've already gone through that much of it. That's insane. That's just 2 paintings. Gone through that much of my sap green. Every time we do like a summery green or like springtime, anytime green, we go through a lot of green, man. Lots of it. Okay, let's get our liquid white again. Again, it's sort of globbed on to the brush, right? We need a fair amount of it. Otherwise, it won't become wet enough to deposit. Excuse me, I have an itch. I have a nose itch. Won't be wet enough to deposit off of our brush, okay? Again, we're gonna do the green first as like our base shadows up in this big old tree. So from back here, very lightly tapping on, not every place is going to be filled with green. We have to leave some areas of dark. You don't have to leave everything dark or too many areas. You just have to leave a couple little bits out there, okay? Same thing on this guy. And if I start noticing that I have to tap harder onto my paint, I'm going to go back and get more paint or better mixture onto my brush because I don't want it to get mushed, right? I want to be able to touch it so lightly that all this green paint falls off and attaches itself to our canvas, right? So same thing up here, tapping it in, leaving little guys, almost like we're making grass, just leaving a couple little disconnections, right? If your disconnections are too weird looking, they're not going to look right. Connect them a little bit, okay? Little things, tapping on little areas, not trying to cover every bit. And now we gotta go highlight that. That's our shadow, right? Shadows for our paint. Then we're gonna come back in, we're gonna highlight that paint, or highlight those guys with a bit of our liquid white and a bit of our yellow ochre. Come out here, a little yellow ochre, a little cat yellow, a little Indian yellow, why not? Just get them all. Doesn't matter. Come off of this guy very lightly, right? Tapping it on. We don't need all of the darkness to be covered. We don't need every single bit to not be shining, right? There. Fabulous. The more you do, the more you can play around with what you like it to look like. A little bit, really catching some bright on those little trees back there. And then the same thing along the top. Tapping it down. Little bits that are getting hit by the light and little places that aren't. You know what I mean? It's never going to make it all the way back to the back. We might have a little bit of brightness back in there, but not too much. And that will be on our further away tree. Now we'll go wash this brush off because we're not going to need it anymore. And then we'll put our highlights on our little evergreens. Really trunk up or bark up our trunk of our tree. And then we'll be all set. So let's grab a small little fan brush. A little old guy, it doesn't have to be too big, and we don't need too much liquid white on this guy because our green is already very wet in itself, okay? There we go, just like that, tapping it on. Remember, these already are sort of green on their own, so having that deep green in there is going to allow it to stay brighter green for longer without mixing away. Remember, every time we get down to the bottom, we don't need to have so many little details down there. Just a couple little pieces of brightness. You can even add on this guy. Some bright on his left side, but just on the left out there where it might be getting hit. And then again, darker and darker and darker, filling up less area. You get your cool little pine tree out there in the night. Wipe off your brush or clean it. back into the liquid white just enough, right, to allow the paint to stay thin. That way it will deposit. Let's get a little of our yellow ochre in there too. There we go. Change up our color a bit. Come off of this guy. Little taps. Taps. Taps, taps, taps. The more we go down, the more we start spreading out our little taps. Right, so we're working them in this little line back and forth. And then come off of the other side. Drop on little bits, little pieces, little bright spots, and trying not to cover up everything. Right? If we cover up everything, or every bit of darkness gets covered, then guess what? We've got a very, very flat tree. We won't have any fun with those kinds of trees, okay? One more little thing. Let's get a little bit of yellow ochre onto our brush this time. Because our sap green is getting very bright with that liquid white, keeps getting brighter and brighter, more and more pale. Right, so come over here, and this one will be a slightly different color. And again, just tapping on top of, not trying to cover all the bits. A little bit off his backside. Just like that. Cool little tree out there in the night. Oh, I love him. I love him. Okay, you guys help me come up with a title for this one, because all we got to do next is put our trunk of our tree in there. And that's really when the painting comes to life, for sure. Man, we went through a ton of colors on this guy. Okay, we may need to get more brown paint out. We're going to go half and half. Our Van Dyke brown, which is the darker browns, and then our dark Sienna brown, which is the lighter browns. And remember, you guys can get this painting or a smaller version for less on paintwithjosh.com. They're already there. They're waiting for you on the home page of the site. You just got to get over there and grab it. Boom, boom, boom. Now we're going to take our dark brown, right? We're going to grab a whole chunk of that yellow ochre color, an enormous amount. About half of our brown, mix those guys together, because I want two different browns, and then we're going to use pure yellow ochre on the front of the tree. So this brown needs to be darker than the pure yellow, but also brighter than its other shadowy self. Right? Cool. Now we got our dark brown over here, but our other brown we're going to scrape up an enormous amount. Come up here and just kind of tap it very lightly, and then move. Right? Just kind of smacking it. Pow. Bing, bang, boom, right there. Tap it on. It's going to drop on so much texture, because when you do it, you're doing it like this, right? You're coming out and you're tapping it and tapping it and tapping it. And you can even see the trunky look that I can make of a little tree bark right there, right? Can you guys see that? Is it too dark? Right? You can see it. It's all that texture, right? So all we're doing is touching it and dropping off whatever paint wants to fall off, and then coming back, or you can do it this way, kind of tapping onto it, tapping, 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 until there's no more big fat roll at the bottom, right? Then you come over here, you pull down your paint, so you get another enormous roll. Here, tap it on. This is the closest thing in our whole painting. It's allowed to be the most texturist, the biggest, the chunkiest, the craziest boy in the neighborhood. Oh man. Tap it on, tap it on, tap it on. There. Right? Just tapping at it. Tap, 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 tap. Getting it to stick, and then leaving it. Okay? Now, you want to work at least your big tree over about just over half with your dark brown. Tapping it on, so it's just over halfway. Then we're going to go back with our lighter brown. You should be able to see this one a little bit easier. Come along from the edge. Right, start tapping it and removing. Tap, 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 tap. Leaving a very, very, very thin dark line around the side if you can. Don't try to cover up all your stuff, okay? And again, load up that light brown. Tap, 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 tap. You're going to be able to feel this tree bark like it's an actual tree, right? Because of the amount of paint that we're laying down on top of this chunk. Tapping it at it, spreading it out, coming a little bit further over our shadow side. That's why we go shadows over to 60%, and then you work from here and you go over past your halfway mark. And then whenever you're filled in, let's get this little guy back here. There we go. There, tap it on. Yes, look at it. Would you just look at it there? It's gorgeous. Fabulous. Okay, now we're gonna go for our, let's get rid of these two colors. At least put them over there and over there. Right? We'll wipe off our blade again so we don't have any tainting of color. And I'm gonna come grab a little bit of my pure yellow ochre. Put that down there, okay? Anywhere that you touch this guy, it's gonna look like the sun is just blasting on to the tree in that area. Right? It's going to, the more that you touch it, the more it's going to overmix and start mixing in with that other darker brown. Like I said, you can even go across your shadows in different areas, even with this third highlight, right? Tapping it back, working that color in, letting it just be out there and be like, hey, I'm bright right over here, right? All it is that pure yellow ochre, just sort of really just on the edge, and then it can work its way back however bright you think the tree should be. But you have to leave that thick, dark, crazy dark brown back here, and thick as you can have it on there in order for it to look like it's close, right? You can come out here and put a little bit of that thickness right on top of those branches because they're big enough to hold all that texture. Look at that, dude. Woo! That's a tree trunk. Let's take these guys. We got a little bit of trunk in there. A little bit of trunk on those guys, just a touch, right? This one out here, we can actually see a little bit right there and a little bit right there. So we just need to have a small amount of our brown and a little bit of that yellow ochre color. Catch some trunk on that tree. Fantastic, my friends. Okay, you guys gotta come up with a title for this one for sure. All right, whether or not it finds a new home, we gotta come up with a title for it. So let's take our our palette tool, come in here into these darker areas that are back in here, right, and launch out little sticks and twigs that are holding up all these little flowery things. Not every little stick and twig is gonna be shown, but some of these little guys, we have to be able to see down inside where they are. A couple little bits here, there, they're growing everywhere, they're coming from down here. Wherever you want them to be. All up to you every time. Right? You are in control. Now, hit me with your titles. And again, if you purchase this one, you get to pick the title of what it's going to be forever, right? So whatever you think. Somebody said Tim one time. They named the painting Tim. Because they were going to give it to their dad. All right, so whatever you think it should be, let's toss these guys in here. And just go, caw-caw! The old bird fam flying through. Oh, I love it. Get out of town. I love those. Okay, let's take and sign this guy. We're going to use our liquid white to sign it just because it's the wettest paint. We don't have to mix any other color. We don't have to do any other thing. Let's just come down here. Throw in the old JK-ery. And then you guys come up with a title. What are we going to call it? What are we going to call it, my friends? Remember, if you purchase it during the show, you get to name it, and we get to have a light party, and the RGB party afterwards, which is going to be really cool. And then I was going to come back and do another show. If this one found a home, I was going to come back and do another show tonight over on TikTok and do 2 shows. So you guys hit me with your titles, and we'll see what happens. Escape. The trees have eyes. I like that. It's a cool title. Let me flip this one camera around so I can see you guys. We'll flip you over here, put you back down. That way I can at least see your comments, and then you can see the painting. Now, this is a 20 by 24 inch painting, so it's pretty large, a bit bigger than our normal 16 by 20 inch size. And it's just fabulous. Look at all that mist through the forest, through the next bit, back to the purple mountain, under the clouds, and on forever, my friends. Okay, man. All right, this one, it's got a lot of paint on it. We got very dirty with our brushes, with our palette, with everything. Just got extremely covered in color. Which is what happens anytime we do like a green and colorful little scene. It's just messy. That's just how it goes. It's just messy, guys. Now remember, if you want to see the smaller version of the painting that we did today, that's also available directly underneath this guy. That was number 1951. This one's number 1952. So just check that out, or I can show it to you. It's literally right there. I'm looking right at it. But I need to know if you want to see it or not. There. There we go. If anybody's interested, I can show you a little smaller little version. A Smoky Paradise. I like it, guys. I like that for a title. I like it. And like I said, this one, same scene, smaller canvas. We did this one in a virtual class today with Thomas and I. Did that scene. Did they line up? Hang on. Ooh, the horizons kind of line up pretty well. Down into the bushes. Dude, look at the top tree. The top tree lines up perfectly. How far can we go down? That's the question. Zoop. Look at that though, same distance on a different size canvas. So the more that you do, the more you're going to know how far to come out, no matter the size of the canvas, right? Need to reserve 1992, you better send me an email. What was that, TM8? Hit me up on Discord too. Whispers of Dawn, Misty Mount. I like that. That's a cool one, guys. A Mystic Morning on top of Old Smoky. Eugene Rochelle. Does that mean you're in Eugene? Because I am in Eugene. Or is that just your first name? That could be your first name. It's it could be anything, right? Very cool. Man, I like this one. Okay, let's pick a title. Let Me Shine. I like that. Walking down the forest. Misty Mountain Mist. Spring is Here. Scenic View. That's a great title. Morning Dew. That's a cool title. Valley of First Light. Excellent on the titles, my friends. You guys are serious. Are you all poets? Are you literally all poets out there coming up with these titles? Grack of Dawn. That's it. That's the title. That's it. The Grack of Dawn, because we kept saying Grack as far as using that that color, right? That blackish green. We call Grack of Dawn. I love that, actually. That is funny. That is funny. It's a color that we like. It's a Paint with Josh color for sure. Who else is saying that? No one. No one is saying that. Let me finish the top of this little guy. Just drag across our sky color there. There we go. All it is just blending the top of the canvas, and you're just doing it with your finger versus a brush, because your brush can whip down the front of your canvas, and then you're going to be in big old trouble, right? There. Gorgeous. Now, Grack of Dawn. I like that. You guys got to keep that pin if it goes away. There we go. Throw the old JK out there in the night. This one's number 1952. That is a lot of paintings. Calling it Grack of Dawn. Perfect. I love that. Okay. Painted on 7/20/2024. We're all going to go to paintwithjosh.com because it's the best place ever, isn't it? I'm always over there. I don't know about you guys, but I'm always there. Let's actually see. Are there... Oh, Nelly, there's more than 12 people over there maybe looking at this painting. So if that's one of you and you're letting me play in the background, you better get it quick, because there's someone else there checking out right when you're checking out, and all of a sudden it could be gone. It could be gone and in the night. We also have that smaller one available for much less too. Much less than the big one. Oh, it's Golden Awakening. I love Grack of Dawn. It's such a perfect title. It's literally like, it's the Grack of Dawn. Let's go do some painting. Okay, you guys are awesome. I never like the tutorials to go too long over there on YouTube, so I can't wait to see your version. Please send it into my Facebook page. Email it to me. Drop it in any comments that I have on any thread I have on Facebook going. Send it to me on Instagram, wherever you can. I want to see your version of this painting. So either join my Discord or send it to any one of those places. And until I see you guys again next time over there on YouTube, take care. Have the rest of a good day. And why do I always make that noise? I try not to make that noise, and then I make that noise again.